So breaking news from Insider Gaming. Last week we talked about Fairgame $, because there was an alleged playtest happening this past weekend, or like in the next like day or two. It wasn't really clear because obviously it's like locked down. Nobody knows about it except for the few people who are participating. But here we are. There's a report coming from Insider Gaming discussing that very same thing. Fairgames struggles to find the fun in latest pre-alpha playtest. Haven's latest playtest, a pre-alpha version of Fairgames, continues to struggle to find the fun, according to sources familiar. Last week, Haven Studios ran another playtest under the codename Espresso for Fairgames, but according to those involved, the game is still struggling to find its fun factor and is still a long way to go in development. As mentioned in a previous report, the game mode played was called Cargo Heist, which is essentially an extraction-based experience where you load into a map, loot, break vaults, and then extract. I suppose the only unique thing here is that there's also respawns, which takes away from the high-stakes nature of an extraction shooter. Gameplay sent to Insider Gaming on the condition that it not be made public shows 4 3-player teams looting a giant mansion using a class-based system. The game somewhat resembles The Division or Call of Duty in its graphical style and movement, with elements of grappling and wall running, but the reveal trailer's overly colorful look seems to have been toned down significantly, adopting a more grounded color palette. Fairgames is struggling. It says screenshots of the game's playtest Discord server showed a massive amount of negative player feedback. Ooh, that's not great. So it's the game's playtest Discord where they saw a massive amount. So they had like the playtesters in a Discord, and then they're all like, maybe they had a feedback channel, and then everybody is in the feedback channel. Like, just tell us what you thought of today. And then he's saying it's like overwhelmingly negative. Oh, that's awkward. That's awkward. With players criticizing game-defining features like movement, NPCs, the class system, and more. So like literally the game. It's like playing Overwatch and being like, yeah, I just wish there weren't heroes. And I wish it wasn't based on like objectives. You know, it's like, well, that's kind of the whole game. What if we had it? What if Overwatch just didn't have guns? What if we didn't do that? What could we do that? Others who played the game tell Insider Gaming that they either played a few games and stopped, or teammates would leave mid-match and not play again because the game felt incomplete or boring. I wonder how big this playtest was. I wonder. Because they're saying like they were doing a playtest and teammates would just bail. If it was a small playtest, I would imagine they would just like, whoever's organizing the playtest would get on the horn and get those teammates back, you would think. But if they had a problem where teammates, like this reminds me of those like alpha playtests that you might occasionally get into for like Concord, you know, where it's like 500 people across the world are playing. And if somebody leaves your party, like that's just it. That's crazy. It seems that at the very least, Fairgames still has a long way to go in development. And while I never want to write off a game before playing it, I do genuinely wonder what the game plan is here. Marathon has proven to PlayStation that extraction shooters are a niche genre and aren't the next billion-dollar genre to advance its games as a service ambitions. That's without even mentioning 10 Chambers Den of Wolves, which despite starting development in 2021, looks like a far better product and will satisfy that vault cracking itch for many. Is a couple thousand concurrent players enough for PlayStation? I doubt it. I mean, if this is honestly the feedback they're getting, I would be surprised if they hit a couple thousand players. I don't know what, like, this is what we've been saying, is that PlayStation sees something with this. It's possible that there's some sort of like contractual government agreement. Like, you remember with Skull and Bones, Ubisoft signed a deal with the Singapore government where they had to release it. Even though they wanted to cancel it for sure, they had to release an original IP from that studio within this timeline. Otherwise, they would have to pay back all those millions they got from some like creative endeavors grant. So it had to get out the door. And I'm starting to really wonder if something like that is present here, because I don't know what they see in it. Like, at some point, if the reporting is true, which maybe it's not, but if the reporting is true, like, why would they continue to spend millions? Like, what are we missing? Just try to put yourself in the position. Like, say it's your money on the line. And, you know, remove yourself from being in corporate where we're talking hundreds of millions. Make it more reasonable, but still a lot of money. Like, imagine if you had somebody working on this and they're like, okay, Luke, now, based on this feedback, will you give us another $10,000? Like, Will you sell your car and give us the money for that car to finish the game? I don't think I would. Based on the feedback I'm seeing in this article, like, who would continue doubling down on this? Who would put a bunch of money into this? I just don't see it. I don't know. Well, especially like the report was that I think it was last year, there was a playtest that feedback was negative, and then the co-founder of the studio, Jade Raymond, left, right? And then I think they did another playtest that they mentioned in the last article earlier this year, and then this playtest that just happened this past weekend. If after 2 more playtests and further feedback, they still are not figuring it out, like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I mean, finding the fun is like a common difficulty in game development, even though it's like very meme worthy and it's funny to think that like they're making a video game that's supposed to be fun and they can't figure out how to make it fun. But at the end of the day, like, it's just, you start on this game 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. You work on it for years and years and years. Maybe it was fun based on player tastes and standards 6 years ago, but today it's just different. Standards are different and have changed. And my like the piece of this that just has never made sense to me is that this is just one of those games, like, these live service games don't work if you play it for a weekend and then move on. It doesn't work that way. Like, these only work if players are so into it that they play it for months or years. Playing it for a weekend and putting 10 hours into it, then moving on doesn't work. That might work for an indie team where they got you to pay $10, you got in because their costs were so low. This is, by all accounts, like a pretty big studio in Montreal that costs God knows how many millions to operate monthly. It is a big undertaking, and I get it. It's tough to like tuck your tail between your legs and go home and just cut your losses. But at some point, man, like, the writing's on the wall with it, you know? And I want to keep an open mind. Maybe it does end up being a masterpiece, but when all of the writing and all of the articles and all the leaks are saying that that's not what it is, like, at some point, why would players have confidence in this? I don't think they should. I don't think the team seems to have confidence in it. Raphael says, with 22 months, thank you. You always say maybe we're missing something. I just think they're delusional and treat life like those mobile games, throwing money until it works. Yeah. The reason I throw out maybe we're missing something is because there have been times where maybe there is a piece of the puzzle that is not visible to us that makes everything line up, right? Where it's like, with Skull and Bones for years, we were like, why are they not just canceling it? And then a report comes out, oh, they did a government grant where they got a bunch of money, and that government grant forces them to put it out. They literally can't cancel it. And so they are in too deep and they have to put it out. So they're going to try to keep throwing money at it until they maybe get it to where it can perform like decent or like not totally abysmally. But like, that was a piece of the puzzle that was missing that explained why they weren't just canceling it. And I'm starting to think, like, seriously, there's got to be something like that going on here, because it just doesn't make sense why they'd continue to double down on this, you know? It just does not make sense. He took my thing. Red flag.